Lightning like Steve McQueen, I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit, cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly, better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder, and I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what all of this information means. At the end of the day, you guys, this is all brought to you by transportation professionals, okay? There is no theory on any of my content. Everybody who is on here is active in the industry, whether they're building their own companies up, they're a sales rep, technology, whatever it is all freight professionals. There's no theory on any of my stuff. Nobody's trying to be a thought leader on this. We're actually out here making things happen, you guys. And, you know, frankly, with all of this information, it's one of the many reasons why I proudly fly the American flag behind me, is because A, we're the greatest country on earth, and B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live your American dream as well. I do have a very special guest for you guys. We're going to get real. We're going to get raw, and we're going to just speak truth like we always do. But before I bring him up, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub. You guys, vhubapp.com. Doesn't matter if you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper alike. We all need access to trailers. And then especially right now, for my fleets out there, all of you guys who are listening to this, we have an opportunity for you to make money if your trailer's in the shop. All right. You don't have to shut your business down. You can jump on there. You can snag a trailer, make money. And this is on top of the revenue that you would get by loading this stuff out. So they have Paragould, Arkansas, going up to Delta, British Columbia. You get paid $18.50 to do that. And that's on top of the freight, you guys, that you can put in the back of that. That's going to help you offset fuel costs and everything. They also have San Diego, California, going out to Selma, Texas, $1,500 to do that. San Diego, California, going up to Millbury, Ohio, $600 to do that. And then for my friends up in Canada, Milton, Ontario to Montreal, Quebec, $250 Canadian to do that. So hit them up, you guys, vhubapp.com. My man Xavier Campos and my friend Stacy Steen, they will be in the audience. And just hit them up. Just do me a favor. Let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Dorian, the man, the myth, the hashtag Freight Coach. Let's fucking go. Good morning. Thank you, sir. Dorian looks like a new viewer. I love it. Zach Williams, what's up, my man? And yeah, that's right, buddy. It is Veterans Day tomorrow. We will definitely be doing something for that over here. Chris Brewer, what's up, my man? Chris put out a great post this morning about how he is all in on his people. Nobody's losing their job. He's going to make it happen. And that's what leadership's all about. All right, I'm going to bring him up. Without further ado, I got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Adam Wingfield back on. What's up, Adam?
What's up, my guy? How you doing?
I'm doing well. And as you guys can see, Adam's got a silky smooth setup now.
Man.
He's joining the ranks. I love it.
Hey, man, I knew I had to come on the Freight Coach this morning. I knew I had to pull out the good stuff.
Oh, man, I love it. So what's good? What's good in your world right now, man? How's everything going? Obviously, Adam is the voice of the small fleets, you guys. He's out there. He is helping people remain profitable, grow their companies and everything else. So what's the vibe out there, man? What's the pulse right now?
Well, I can tell you, obviously a lot of folks are, questioning what the direction of the industry is going. It doesn't really help with, some of the headlines that they're seeing, some of the stuff they see and some of the stuff that's really pushed out. But to be quite honest, there are people out there every day that are navigating through this just fine. There's people out there that are successful within this business. But I think the biggest vibe that, you're obviously going to get is you're going to get the concern of the folks that came in kind of high. From a standpoint of when we look back in the last 2 years, you got folks a little worried. Haven't seen the ebbs of the industry. They've been part of the flows and haven't had the opportunity to understand what the ebbs look like. So that's to be expected.
Yeah, man, it's tough out there because and I deal with this with a lot of the brokers that I'm talking to who did come in with elevated rates, and people were just like, here, just please work my freight. I need somebody to come in and pick it up. And, I think we're seeing, I guess there's no only way to put it is welcome to the fucking show. Like this is where we are right now, rates aside, where we are right now is a normal market, and it's not going to be easy. But I think let this be a lesson to anybody out there. Like you can make it through because, we talked about this, Adam, what was it back in 2008 when you said rates were similar and fuel was similar to what it is right now?
Yep.
So how did you how did you take that head on at that time? Because you were still out there making it happen on the road, man. Like, what's the first thing that you ask yourself when, all right, this is the situation I'm in right now. This is my cash where I'm sitting at.
Mhm.
My bills are coming up here soon. I
Mhm.
don't, I got 1 month left of cash reserves.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things for me is I looked at controllable expenses. I'm the type of person, man, like I don't, I'm a control what you can control type guy. I
Yeah.
don't care about news headlines. I don't care about what people are saying. I don't get involved in all of that chitter chat. I want to control what I can control. And at that time in 2008, man, diesel prices was 460, 470, 480. And you got to remember back then, freight was $1.30, maybe,
Yeah.
and you look at I was in the flatbeds, I was running flatbeds at that time. And it was tough out there, but I had to make a decision. This is where I was at, and I had to make the best out of it. And I had to learn how to really look at my controllable expenses. And one of my biggest controllable expense was fuel. So I'm looking at the fuel pumps and I'm saying either I can do one or two things. Either I can A, sit here and bitch like the rest of everybody and complain about fuel prices, or B, I can control how many times I've actually got to stop at this fuel pump. So what I decided to do at that point is look at how I can reduce fuel costs. I start looking at how fast I was driving. I looked at how I was operating, the type of lanes that I was running, the type of weight that I was hauling. And one of the biggest things is the type of states that I were going into, because fuel tax is obviously higher in some states and lower in others. So I just doubled down, man. I doubled down on my own personal expense control. Instead of going to instead of going to Longhorn, sometimes you got to pack peanut butter and jelly. You just got to do what you got to do, and you got to buckle down. And some of the lanes that you love running, you might not be able to run them anymore. And I think, like, especially during this time of the year, when you have the owner operators and you have the folks that are fleet owners, they got drivers that say, "Hey, I only want to run the Southeast." This ain't that. This ain't that. I'm sorry to tell you that this ain't that. You're not going to sit around there and be able to run, 6, 7 states and stay out of business right now. It's just not that type of marketplace. It'll come back to where you're able to have that type of, of choice. But right now, the choice is, if you want to stay in business, you got to do things that sometimes you might not be comfortable with, and you got to be okay with it. You got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, man. And dude, I'm always about this. I think people overlook how lucrative local freight is from that regard, because like they want the big, shiny 1,000-mile run. And if you break it down on like a day by day basis, like, dude, I'm convinced, and this was the same 5 years ago. And I know this is the same recently because I do this in my brokerage right now, man, where it's like drivers can literally stay local in a city and turn $1,000 revenue a day, and they might drive 100 miles, 150 miles in total.
And see, the thing is that's true in some markets. In other markets, you got to get a little bit more creative, But it's absolutely, the longer the length of haul, the cheaper it's going to be. I mean, it's just that. When you shorten those length of hauls, my biggest thing is that there was a couple of things that I wanted to do as an owner operator and a fleet owner. I wanted to pick up and deliver every day, So when I'm saying that from a rule of thumb, is that I wanted to shorten my length of haul so I can pick up and I can deliver every day. And not only do I want to pick up and deliver every day, I want to FCFS. I want to be a first come, first serve as much as possible. I want to have my truck there at be first one in line to get loaded, and I want to be the first one in line to be unloaded, because that provides me with the maximum amount of opportunity to be able to run my operation. I want to run 500-600 miles a day. I want to stretch that out, because I know if I can run 500 and 600 miles a day, if I can do that, then I can turn a pretty good profit with that. When you start running these long lengths of haul, 16, 1,700 miles, and when it takes 2-3 days on a length of haul on a shipment, and you're running the risk of impacting your profitability. And I get it. There's some situations you got drivers that love running it. You got drivers that only want to bump a dock once or twice a week. And hey, you know what? I get it. That's something for everybody.
Yeah. No, I got you, man. Because it's true. It's like you're putting that length of haul out there, and there is that gray area at like above the 1,650 to below the 1,900 mile mark, where you might be able to get it in 3 days, but you're gonna, if it's not a first come first serve facility, if you're losing a day at that point and everything as well. So it is that downtime. It is monitoring that. And again, it's like, I think, to me, it's always about like what facilities are the most efficient. And yes, it might not have the biggest sticker shock of like the highest rate per mile, but it's for your future earning potential. That, hey, with beyond a shadow of a doubt, I'm getting empty within 2 hours, or I'm getting loaded within 2 hours, and you can get to that next shipment. And I think it's like, it's really studying the data that's out there, because that's the beauty of what 2022 looks like, that 2008 never had a chance, is the software that's out there that you can use to track a lot of that information. I mean, just talking about fuel, like you can go on Trucker Tools, download their app, put your lane in there, and you could find the most cost-effective fuel on that route. Who's not to say that you stop at exit 48 and then at exit 38, fuel's 18 cents a gallon cheaper. So it's like looking at that and planning out your trip is so vital, I think, right now more than ever.
And I think too, on top of that too, is understanding hours of service and how that hours of service can impact you. And one of the things that we see some people making the error of is taking that reset during a week, taking a reset during a Tuesday or a Wednesday. You take a 34-hour reset during a week, and what you're doing is you're losing that impact and the ability to run during a week, because you have a lot of shippers and a lot of receivers that are closed over the weekends.
Yeah.
What I love doing is I love running through the week, and I'll do my running reset on the weekends, because I want to have the maximum amount of freight available to choose from during the week. Now, not to say that you don't have shippers and receivers that are not open on Saturday and Sunday. You do have some, but they're not as abundant, and I don't have the abundancy of choice. And when you don't have the abundancy of choice to choose from, then it'll impact you on your ability to be able to find the highest paying freight. So I really, really, really see a lot of folks that, maybe new into this. We got a lot of folks that are just getting started and really don't know how to run their clock and be able to maximize their clock. We got folks that we're teaching people on how to use a split sleeper berth. That's a big opportunity. If you're using a split sleeper berth, that allows you to get even more hours during the day and allows you to provide the ability to maximize your drive time. So that way you can get to some of these shippers first thing in the morning and you can extend your clock. But there's a lot of basic things, Chris. There's a lot of basic things that can be done right now instead of getting on Facebook, getting on Instagram, getting on the CB radio and just bitching about rates, because it's not going to change. I was looking at today, I was doing some research today, and I was looking at ocean containers, and I was looking how much the cost of ocean containers were back at the height of pandemic in 2021. We're talking about almost 20 grand on an ocean container. And now it's like $2,700 on an ocean container. So before you get on here and bash brokers and bash shippers, you got to look at the big picture, and you got to look at the overall dynamic that trucking is such a small component of the entire large scale supply chain process, the global supply chain. Mm-hmm. If you really unpack it and you really understood, what really drives those rates, it's a trickle down effect. We're in trickle down economics. And because of some of these things are being impacted at the top level, the only thing that you can focus on is controlling what you can control. And if you can control what you can control, you maximize your hours of service, you maximize your clock. Sometimes you got to slow the damn truck down and stop running up and down the highway at 75 miles an hour because you're blowing out diesel fuel at an ungodly rate. You got to make sure you stay on top of your maintenance. You got to do like little things. And it's the little things that matter during times like this to be successful. It keeps your mind busy. It keeps you occupied with focusing on the operational controls within your business. And I'm going to tell you something, and this is no secret. Every rainstorm runs out of rain.
Yeah.
So eventually at some time, you're going to have to put your umbrella down and deal with the sunshine again. But right now is not the time to hide away from the rain. Now it's the time to face it head on and do the things that you can do to be successful.
Yeah, man. And, that's a, kind of a segue. Obviously was a massive layoff yesterday at CH Robinson, 1,200 people. And, me personally, it's like, I sympathize for the people who lost their jobs. And it's one of those situations, man, where it's like, because like the information that I found, like seemed like it was like mid-level management and like VP level and stuff that got out. So generally speaking, you're not a new hire and get into those roles for the most part. So it's like you're thinking about that, about the tenure of you just invested 10 years somewhere or 12 years somewhere, and you just got axed. Your point, Adam, and and that was really the whole purpose of the little video that I put out this morning. Is you guys, whatever happened yesterday is irrelevant today. Mm-hmm. You have to control what you can control right now. And, as somebody who was out of a job, I would say in a worse economic time due to the fact that it was right at the beginning of the pandemic and there was a hell of a lot more uncertainty about where the direction of the world was going to be heading at that time. Don't reach for a bottle right now. Don't drink your sorrows away. It's not going to help. I would highly advise that go for a fucking walk today. Like literally just put in some headphones and go for a walk outside and get that sunshine in your face for a little bit. If you haven't picked up a book in a while, pick up a book and start reading. Invest in yourself right now. And then furthermore, reach out to everybody in your network and start talking to people. There's a line that I kind of live by. You want to make more money, shake more hands. Get out there and just meet more people and network with more people, because CH is going to get lambasted in the media. They're going to get fucking shredded. And, you know, at the end of the day, when you're a publicly traded company as large as CH Robinson, their fiduciary responsibility is to their shareholders. That might be a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow, but it's true. I don't know what it was like to make that call. I've never laid off that many people. I've never been the CEO of a a $20 billion company. But what you can control right now, if you were at that level, is you can get better as a person, you can improve, you can network more, and there will be another opportunity out there if you allow it. Just don't let this be the moment of your life that you look back in 10 years and be like, oh, if 2022 didn't happen, I'd still be fucking whatever. No, you can't control. It's just like all the shit with politics right now. We can't control who's voted in office. And frankly, whoever's in office has nothing to do with your actions today. It's fucking irrelevant. You control your actions, your business, your life. Nobody else is going to do it for you, and no one else is going to stop you from doing it adversely.
You know, one thing about that, what you said about that too, is one thing that I've known from this industry as long as I've been in it. This industry is notorious and it's synonymous with the word overreaction. We react to everything. You look at the difference in the actual rates that we see from the ocean shipments that we just talked about. You look at the overreaction to the purchasing that we're making. We are so committed to overreacting. And when I look at that and I look at how much this pendulum swings back and forth, from a matter of overreaction. And I think that, to your point, it too shall pass. But I also tell you this, with those folks with the CH Robinson situation, out of the 1,200 people that got laid off, they're millionaires in that group, in terms of their mindset and their capabilities of becoming very, very successful entrepreneurs. There are people in that group that weren't fulfilling their passion. And the thing is that if you chase your passion, the money will end up chasing you. So sometimes when those doors that close, man, you got to just look at them and stare and laugh at those doors that close, because maybe that's not the room that you should have been in anyway. There's always an ultimate plan for everybody. And I believe that sometimes you got two people in the world. You got the first type of person that's got to get pushed in order for them to fulfill their passion. And then you got the other people that, that have the galls to just jump. But, the thing is that CH Robinson did what they needed to do. They did what they needed to do. It's a business, and they had to respond accordingly. But what I will say is that from what my experience have been in this industry, and it's a capitalist society, so I understand that part. But one of the things I will say about this industry is that we're always grossly overreact to everything. And now we're probably going to be looking 2 years down the road and talking on a podcast like this again of like, oh man, maybe we shouldn't have laid off so many people back in 2022, or maybe we should have, maybe we shouldn't have sold off so much capacity. Maybe now we're in the same situation as we were before. So
yeah, dude, as a man of faith, I think this is everybody's opportunity from God to go and do what you were saying right there, man. Chase your passion, go after it. They're out of those people. There's a lot of opportunity that's out there if you want to go for it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that too, man, from the people that are out there, and the opportunity is always going to be out there. You just got to chase that passion. And, maybe transportation wasn't your passion. If it was your passion, make sure you take it to the fullest extent. But I don't think that's going to be the last of them. Obviously, you see CH Robinson because it's this huge mega company. It's in the news. But, how many people in the last month, right, have had to revoke their authority? I can promise you it's much more than 1,200 people. So you got to look at that from that standpoint too. But, I just hope that those folks, they land on their feet. Obviously that's something that I hope. And if there's anybody from CH Robinson that's looking for an opportunity, shoot me a message. I might have something for you.
Same here. If anybody who was affected by that, shoot me a message as well. You guys, I have a vast network of people. I know a lot of companies that are hiring, and we can get you placed and get you in touch with the right recruiters and everything else. We got to help each other out in these moments. And, I have a tinfoil hat theory on why that happened, but we don't have time to get into that today at all. I want to get to one article here because, it is kind of the point of the show, but at the end of the day, we don't need articles. Adam and I could talk for hours about this stuff. So this article came out from FreightWaves about, is $69,000 a year enough for driving a truck? And it was talking about legislation mandating overtime pay faces a bumpy road. Recent data from the ATA found that the average truckload driver made over $69,000, including salary and bonuses in 2021, an 18% increase from 2019. At the same time, however, driver compensation, that is a lack of it, ranked as the #1 issue among company drivers and third among all drivers. Drivers also rank detention and delay at customer facilities that are out there. The DOT estimated that in 2019, that lost time topped $1 billion in annual pay in total. It goes on to say that the big guys get away with cheap labor because they don't want to pay overtime. The big box shipper gets away with detaining drivers because nobody charges them. The big carriers don't charge the shippers because they don't want to lose the freight. Louis from OIDA was quoted in this one. We spent years trying to figure out how to get people's attention on this with the big trucking, with trucking being so diverse. What you haul might take 15 minutes, while I haul it might take 4 hours. We decided on the simplest things to remove from an exemption from the Fair Labor Standards Act, so that truckers can get paid overtime. Right now, they're working 70 hours a week or more.
I don't think that, and this is coming from a former driver, and I have the opportunity to be able to speak on that. I don't think that the labor is fair, from in trucking. I don't think that the structure and the format of the labor is fair. Now, what I will say is that you can pay a driver in this model, you can pay a driver $200,000 a year and they'll tell you it's not enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no ceiling to what the actual thought may be. I do believe there needs to be a better structure. If I'm working more than 40 hours, just like anybody else, I'm responsible for I'm responsible for freight. I'm responsible for safety. I'm responsible for 80,000-pound vehicle. I'm responsible for it not. So I'm working. And I don't feel that there's a compensation structure that has been consistently put in place to protect the over the road truck driver. I do think that gets swept under a rug with a vast amount of exemptions. And I do feel like it's time to really address the exemptions. Detention time, layover, and things like that is something that should be considered in overtime. I do believe that. I've long believed that. Because at the end of the day, a driver or a fleet manager or any type of employee needs to be compensated for their time. How is that? I think that instead of all of the back and forth, I think that it needs to be a round table that folks sit down and put something together and put a proposal together, and let's get that thing on paper and let's start getting behind it and put some wheels behind it. But I do believe that ultimately that there does need to be reform on driver pay. I do believe that. Is $69,000 enough? In some cases it is. It depends on the type of circumstance. If I'm a flatbed driver, I'm a specialized driver where I'm using my specialized qualifications and skills, then no, it's not enough, because obviously you have to pay for the experience that you get. But I do believe that there is room. There's a ton of room for improvement in driver pay. I just don't feel that. I don't feel like that we have any consistency around the actual structure and the exemptions that are being thrown at it. I truly believe that we need to work on that. I truly believe that needs to be something of discussion. But instead of just saying, "Hey, when's enough's enough," I think we just need to put some stuff in place to, propose some different ways. I was following a tank company last year, and they're 100% over the road drivers, right? But they're 100% over the road drivers are on hourly pay. And I think stuff like that, when you put that in paper, I think that helps streamline it. A lot of companies are using so many other ways to pay their driver creatively. And those creative ways of paying a driver does put some exemptions in there. It does put some ways to skirt by on other places to alleviate during compensation controls. But I do believe that as an industry wise, I understand why there's some concern around driver pay. I just think that there needs to be better structure around the exemptions that are in place.
Yeah, I like one of my good friends, Matt Hero, the owner of Fresh Freight. He salaries his drivers, and this is never a topic of conversation. When it comes down to it, I can't sit here and say that $69,000 a year is I can't accurately answer that. I don't think OIDA is the best group to be lobbying for an increase of driver pay, because you're representing owner operators, independent contract. You don't get overtime as a business owner. You're not a fucking salary. Right. You know what I mean? So I think, and obviously, because it goes on to hear that the ATA is lobbying against it and everything else. I don't agree with them stating that, revamp compensation models that have been in place for decades, but they've been in place for decades. Like, let's look at them. Like, how can we improve them as a whole? But again, I'm also a believer in free market and capitalism, and it's up to the discretion of the business owner at that point on what they set their. I don't know if there's like a set wage that you could ever find that's going to like check off everybody's boxes of happiness. You know what I mean? So I think that as a whole, if you're a company driver and you're working 80 hours a week and you're only making like 60 grand a year, I don't think that that's enough money, you know, by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, but look at it like this, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate on it. You know, I'm a big fan of the obviously I'm a big fan of the driver, but look at it like this. You know, I've got, you know, my CDL, I've held my CDL for 23 years. You know, you look at somebody that maybe has held their CDL for 2.5 months. You can't pay me 69,000 and pay the guy with that only got 2.5 months 69,000. It's two totally different employees. You know, and the thing about it is that you do have to, again, there has to be some sort of benchmark there. But I'm in agreement that, you know, company A may say, hey, you know what, we start our drivers on this scale, you know, 0 to 3 months this, 3 to 6 months this, 10 plus years this. Well, you're going to have company B that lumps everybody as a driver in the same bucket, regardless of what your overall experience is, what you bring to the table, you know, the endorsements that you have, the type of you know, the type of certifications that you have, the type of driving experiences that you have. That makes a difference to some, and it doesn't make a difference to others. And it would be super, super hard, if not impossible, to actually make that as a foundational benchmark. That I don't see that. But for us to lobby for or against driver pay, I don't know if we have the right to do that. I don't know if that's something that we need to do. Now, I think that we need, as independent business owners, need to consider a lot of different things, and especially the exemptions, right? And I think that from, again, going back to shippers and receivers, I believe that need to be held accountable for detention pay. They need to be held accountable for layovers. They need to be held accountable for lumpers and what lumpers do in terms of detention pay. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think in regards to, from a detention and layover standpoint, I can't list 5 companies that I've worked with that didn't pay them. Like there's something that's getting lost in the transfer of funds there, Adam.
I don't think they pay enough.
Okay. Yeah. $100,
$150 for detention is bullshit to me. Excuse my French. Because if that messes my reload up, that was a $4 a mile reload to get me back in my marketplace. Right, as a dedicated carrier, if I'm running direct in my reload that's heading back to my next direct, and if you delay me for that to where I can't pick up my next direct load, then you're costing me more than that $150 is even worth. And that's the problem. Like, you think about this, and I know I mentioned this in one of my posts. Like, if I order an Uber right now, if my ass ain't outside at the time that the Uber shows up, guess what happens? That clock starts running, right? A lot of times, man, and even as a driver, you'll back up to a dock, and man, if you see the level of urgency that they don't have, man, they'll sit back there, they playing ping pong, they're doing, oh yeah, go ahead and pull up the dock number 3. They'll go out to lunch. If there's no urgency, they don't take it seriously, you know, because they're not being held accountable. And that's my biggest issue. And I know that you know, we've got millions of shippers and receivers across the world, and I know it all ebbs and flows. But you also got millions of passengers across the globe that use Uber, but they're held accountable for being outside when they said that their ride is there waiting for them. And that's one of the issues that I have.
What do you think, from your perspective, is the amount of time, or like out of 10 shippers or receivers, is it 20% of the time you're detained? You think 30%? What is that?
So first of all, depends on the unit, right? If I'm pulling reefers, I would say it's probably 80%, you know. But if I'm pulling dry boxes and I know things happen, I get it.
Yeah.
But why not in transit? And let me think 2022. Why not, as I'm in transit, while the shippers always want to know the ETA of me to get to the location? Well, in transit, you should be able to know, just like when you go out to dinner, right? And you put yourself on a waiting list and it says, okay, you know what? Your table should be ready in about 20 minutes. Your table should be ready in about 30 minutes. Okay, how long is the wait? They know, right? You know. Well, why is it when I'm en route to a shipper, I have no idea what the ETA for me to get unloaded, to where I might, if I knew about it, you know, 3 hours before I get to the shipper and I see the shipper is backed up, and by the time I get there, it's probably going to be a detention in there, I can be on the phone making arrangements on my reload.
Yeah.
I can be on the phone calling my dedicated customer and letting them know, hey, you know what? There's the potential for me getting delayed here. We need to make some arrangements because my pickup is going to be late. Why is it that brokers and shippers, right? Why is it that they want updates and they need the updates on that? Give me that same energy when I got a carrier that's about 4 hours out and your damn conveyor line is down. And by the time I get there, you got 6 trucks in front of me that's going to back me up.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I can't sit here and argue against any of that by any means. It's, I'm right there with you. I don't know if, because for the majority of my career later on, it was a lot of first come, first serve facilities because, open deck and heavy haul, you really don't have, outside of a crane offload, you really don't have a ton of appointment times. But, it is those instances of if you are given a heads up and you're not passing that information along to the driver, like that's some of those core fundamental issues that need to change. But I think that also is, a lot of these things that we're talking about right now, like this is an opportunity to solidify your business. If you're a broker out there and you're hearing this right now, Adam's not alone in this thought process. Like think about if you took this and applied it, how much of a carrier loyalty you could have built up if they knew you were fighting for them out there. It goes a very long way to the driver community. I can't speak for the driver community, but only in my experience in dealing with them as a broker, I know the loyalty and the respect that was there when we had a true open and honest dialogue between each other. And it wasn't oh, hey, it's a first come, first serve, but actually it was a failed load on us yesterday. So you're a fucking work in and everything else. A lot of that stuff just has to go away if you're going to make it long-term. Because I think the more and more that, well, I'm going to be honest, the more and more that I create content and the more and more that I build shit up, I'm going to make it really fucking hard for a lot of you other brokers because I'm going to be doing it the right way in my brokerage. And I will literally show you how it's done. All right. And then it's my goal, Adam, that they're going to see it happening at Freight Coach Logistics, and then they're going to apply it. And then it's just going to raise the standards of the industry as a whole.
The bar just needs to be raised, man. And I just challenge folks, man. Stop being a victim. Stop saying why you can't do something, man. This is 2022, right? Stop saying that, well, it's always been like this. And that's the problem with, I'll say 95% of the people in this industry. It's always been like this. This is what they came into, and they're not willing to step out and make a change. Just like I said on here just a few minutes ago, I dare you as a broker to get on the phone and figure out if there's a detention in place, figure it out. And I dare you to contact your carrier and let them know, hey, man, hey, this is what it looks like. I know you're about 3.5 hours away, but this is what I'm hearing on the ground. I'm hearing that there's a little bit of a delay. So I'm giving you a heads up just in case you need to call your reload, just in case you need to call your backhaul. I dare you. I dare you. I dare you to want to be the change that you speak about. I dare you to be the person that wants to change the paradigm shift. I dare you to stand on the ground and actually try to make something happen positively in this industry. I dare you. I dare you to be a better person in your business. I dare you to take the information that you just heard today, and I dare you to apply it. And you know what? I dare it work. More than anything else, I dare it work, and I dare that the fact that you do that, I dare that you build your business better. I dare you become a broker of choice. I dare you to become a carrier of choice, because communication is one of the biggest issues that we have in this industry. It's broken, it's fragmented, it's antiquated, because the problem is that we don't have enough people, and instead of getting on here bitching and yapping, you don't go out here and you actually put action in place. I dare you to take action, and I dare it to work.
Fuck yeah, man. Let's go. Let's go. If that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what will. You're right, man. You're right. It's going to happen. And I'm going to tell you what, you guys, either you can get, I'll call it the orange wave because, orange shirt gang in the house. That's what's going to happen, you guys. I didn't put everything on the line to not be the motherfucker who changes the trajectory of this industry. All right. So sit back and watch. You guys can join the party too. You can join the party and be a part of this change. All right. That's all I can say on that. I know we went a few minutes over, but frankly, you guys, we got too much gold to talk about every time Adam comes on. And you got to listen to the man. He's out there. He's been in this industry for a very long time. He's very well connected to the pulse of the driver community. So that's it for today. You guys, we'll be back tomorrow. If you saw value in it, as always, you guys share the show, because if you see value in it, your network's going to see value in it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.